Welcome back to Metal of Honour. This is the first of a three-parter. This one is going to be a real simple, basic wax carving and doing a prep finish on natural wax, ready for the Delft clay casting in episode 2 of this little series. Then part 3 is going to be gypsy setting, about I think it's about like 9 or 10 stones, or like gypsy setting, like invisible setting, flush setting. I know quite a few people call it all sorts of different names, but the traditional way here is always called gypsy setting. I don't know why, but yeah, invisible and flush, other people use as well. But yeah, so this is going to be have like a couple of nice little tricks in here for the wax as well, because it can be a bit awkward. At the end of this video, there's going to be a little taster clip of what's to come in the next couple of episodes. But yeah, please do like, subscribe, even hit the little notification bell so you know when the next episode comes up. Same as always, I'll answer all, or pretty much all questions in the comments. And yeah, we'll just crack on with this. But yeah, okay. So when it comes to me doing wax, like I say, this is, if I was doing some sort of mass production thing in wax, I wouldn't be doing all like the real big bulky stuff. If I was doing finer stuff, I'd I don't know, like how do you call it? It's not something that's suitable for the Delft clay. Things that might have claws and stuff, which is something that you'll never see me do ever. It's not my thing. I'm really am about like the handmade stuff, but now and again, this is when casting is, or like little sort of casting at home is like a viable sort of reason. You've got better reasons for doing this, you know, that there's like less wastage and all that sort of thing. But no matter what wax sort of master pattern I might be making for whatever purpose, I always use it's always the ferrous wax, which you've probably seen from your suppliers, but it's always the green one. The green one, it is more brittle, but it's just that hardness to it. You can get more detail and you can get a nicer finish on it, which sort of lends itself like so much better for this type of casting. And you'll see a little bonus tip that I think a lot of jewellers that I've met over the last almost 29 years don't know, for finishing a wax before casting it like this or sending it off. So with this blade here, this saw blade is just a normal standard jewellery piercing saw blade. You can buy special wax ones which are like got it's almost like a twist in the wire, almost looks like sort of double helix with teeth, but they're absolutely pointless. That they create such a fat cut, and you're just better off using a proper blade, but use a thicker one. I think this is a number 2. We could use number 4, like really go up in the gauge size. You see that first cut, generally always cut the bit away first that's the most unnecessary. You see like that first part that I started cutting, I got halfway around that and thought, oh no, that no good. If I'd have cut that and finished it, by the time it comes to cutting this bit that I'm cutting through right now, you'd have had such a tiny little piece to hold on your bench block. Okay, so luckily I thought, oh, well, actually take the other bit off first, then I can twiddle it around and I've got so much more to hold on to. And like I say, a lot of people won't want to use these small blades because as soon as you stop cutting, it gets stuck, and then just because of the wax that just naturally heating up, then as soon as you stop, wax cools and it just grips your blade like that, and it doesn't allow you to pull it down. So just doing these sort of strokes, you see how fast I'm going? You can go fast enough, but if you're coming to a stop, you could go slower than this even, and you'll be absolutely fine. But anytime you want to go really quick, well, not much quicker than this, but anytime you want to go quick, you notice like as I slow down, I'll do a couple of slower cuts first, and then sort of come to a stop. Because if you're literally just going all the way and then stop, that's when it is also going to grip. You see, this was just like a nice basic oval template. It's the same template you'll see me use quite a bit for various ovals, just because it's got the different sort of ellipses, sort of ratios, you know. But yeah, always handy, that one. So yeah, so when you've cut this out, this is the wax block as well, where you buy it in the box, and it comes in different thickness strips. You can buy like the solid block, you can buy like the ring wax where it's got like the tube. You can have like the off-center tube, but I do really recommend it, like the green one. It's just nice to work with. Like I say, from a lot of things that I do, you won't often see me doing any sort of casting. The only type of things that I do this is when you just don't want to deal with the wastage from forging out a block on the anvil for time and or everything else that goes with that. But and the only time I'll use an actual casting company, because I haven't got the big casting machines with like the vacuum and the kiln to burn out all the wax out of like the investment clay, like the things that look like a baked bean tin with all like your wax trees with all the castings on it. I'm not set up for that. I'm not a caster, so whenever I do need to do something like that, the only sort of jobs I send to them sort of people are more like big signet rings, more like the sort of like biker style, just chunky signets, the sort of thing that if you was making by hand, you'd file so much away. It's just not worth it. It's not worth the aggro. There are like when you see the second video for this, because I know a lot of people have trouble setting up the delft clay, like delft clay being the casting sand, you might know it as. I think somewhere like eBay might sell like replicas of it that will probably be okay to use, but I've generally only ever used the delft clay brand. I think it might be an American company. I'm not sure, 100%. But you'll see a little clip of that later anyway. But next video is all about that and prepping and getting that ready. But it's the sand that it always stays wet. As long as like when you've used it and you cut away all the burnt bits, you put it with the rest of it all back in the normal bag, just wrap it up, not even super tight, but it always stays, it's always got like a moistness, like dampness to it. So yeah, so for this wax, a lot of it is kind of thinking a couple of stages ahead of where you want to be, where you want that shape. So at this stage, you can see that I'm just using like my half round file, and I'm just removing material. You see in the thumbnail, it's like very rounded. I've even got it here because after you use like delft clay stuff, you can reuse this again and again. It's not like if you send it off to a caster, that wax is going to be burnt out, then they're going to send you back your silver or gold sort of final master pattern. So if you're just doing things like delft clay, this sort of thing, you can just reuse the little your little wax model again and again. But there are ways of using the delft clay to do like the big signet rings as well, but that's a slightly different setup. I might do a video on that at some stage. It's not something I do that often, really, at all, you know. But it might be a video of that. But yes, again, just getting rid of loads of that material. Like you see from like the thumbnail, it's a very curved shape. So it's me looking ahead and thinking this sort of big chamfer has got to really cut right down, and it's just bringing it all together. The same as like if you was doing a piece of metal. It's just this is a lot cheaper than cutting away metal. But there's things like this. Once you've seen all of this, maybe more like episodes like this episode and episode 2 for the actual casting. like the first car I ever had was a Mark One Golf, Mark One Volkswagen Golf, which I think in America I think they call them like the Rabbit. So like a 1981 or 1982 X plate, but it had this Wolfsburg racing steering wheel. Or it was from a Volkswagen Scirocco, and it had like the little Wolfsburg logo that was in the middle of like the recess for like the hooter. And I'd actually it's one of the only things I've still got left of that car, since it died sort of in the 90s, late 90s. It sort of went up to the special junkyard in the Sky, you know. But that badge, in the same way that you'll see me push this into the sand in the second episode, I actually pushed that in, and that is like a really detailed little sort of logo emblem of this German sort of sidearm sort of racing sort of spec sort of accessories and making various bits. There is more to the company than that, but yeah, but I really wanted to cast that in silver, and it just come out so well. So even on something like this, you could do cutaways. Like for this, I could have even drilled out for where I want my stones, and then pushed that into the clay, into like the casting sand. Sorry, not the clay. Cleaning out these files, just a normal bench brush will get most of that wax out, because you will need to keep brushing them out now and again. But yeah, so the only thing you can't really do with the delft clay on something, on like a simple pendant like this, if you're going to engrave, it's got to be things with straight edges, or it's got to curve inwards, or like your cuts sort of more curving outwards, coming down to like a recess point, whether it's got a channel at the bottom. Just that anything that you can push into the sand, you can pull directly upwards, and you can pull it straight out. So you can't have any undercuts, because what you see from the second video, when you push it in and you're packing down the sand from like both sides, as soon as you come to taking your mould out, because you take it out because you want to pour the metal in its place. So, but anything that's got an undercut, as soon as you try pouring it out one half of the mould, you pull in all the rest of the sand with it. So that's why it's not really a viable option for any sort of serious undercut work. That's more something that you'd send to a normal caster, where you can do that on mould or direct from wax. So you can see that this is like when, same as if I was filing up a wedding ring from like a rectangle, gradually taking off putting like a main chamfer on, taking off like the corners, like the outer corners, and then gradually sort of like bring that over until you've got a complete curve there. Yes, again, like some of these bits you can see is like a little bit stubborn. You could even warm this up over a blowtorch, just run it down, just run a flame down it, and just brush it off more. But if you do warm up the wax, your bench brush is gonna get a bit waxy. So if you do this a lot, you could have a second brush just for doing this, or a wire brush would have been the best way of getting this bit out. But you can see I've just grabbed hold of a bit of like a gold solder panel. It's like the nearest thing I had, and I didn't want to stop the recording, so I wanted to keep it continuous, and that was the nearest thing I had to hand. So I was just like trying to just bosh that out, you know. But yeah, but if it's the same as when you've seen my file cleaning videos before, when they're sort of clogged up with metal, even as soon as you go filing, it leaves like recesses and little dents and scratches and all sorts of bits of trouble that you really don't want. So this is going to be like the shortest video out of all of them, because it is quite a simple shape. No, I did have one video planned. It's going to be quite far down the line, but to actually do what's that, a role-playing dice. I can't think the name of them. I don't really do all that stuff, but they've got all like the multi-faceted dice. I'm sure they've got like crazy amount of sides, and also a normal dice as well, just a normal 6-sided one with like the nice chamfered edges and like the sort of like corner spots. But I wanted to do one of those as well, but I will probably end up casting that as well. So I want to sort of do it a bit bigger and put the stones in, again, sort of gypsy set, invisible set, where the numbers would be on the dice. And something else also wanted to make as well, sort of going along that sort of line. So not to do with the casting though, but that was to do like some dominoes. It's something that I've always fancied doing, an actual like silver set of dominoes. So I just think that'd be like quite a nice little like miniature, quite a nice little miniature set. So yeah, sorry, going back to this, as you see, like I've got out most of that shape that I want. Then I've gone in with a flat buff stick, just a homemade buff stick, just wrapping it around, and that was like a 400 or 500 grit. It doesn't really make too much difference about sort of between those two grits. And then of course then you see me like on this one, a bit of round wooden doweling, just emery paper just wrapped around it, elastic band on the end, just for really sort of getting in, just trying to get a flow. Sometimes with the file, because it's like the metal on a bit of wax, you could just take it off a little bit too easy without you realising. But when you've got the dowel in your hand, where it feels lighter, it almost feels like there's more contact between what you're doing. So it's more about the feel of it. So you can really sort of feel if there's like almost like a little speed bump, you can sort of cane that out of the way rather than getting the file and accidentally taking off the next bit of wax. It's just keeping it all continuous, you know. So here, just sanding off the back. But yeah, so when you're sort of doing these, it's a little bit of to and fro. Sometimes you pick up the files again to do different bits, and you pick up the buff sticks. But as soon as you've done a couple, and you sort of see that results in front of you, not on a silly little phone screen, it's just nice to see it in front of you, and you'll if you try this, you'll know straight away. It will make a lot more sense of what I'm saying. So you'll just find your own little techniques and your own way of sort of doing things and holding things. But yeah, but as soon as you're holding, like I say, as soon as you're holding it, you'll see little scratches that might be not as great for the outcome of your piece, and you might think, oh yeah, I want to buff that a little bit more. A little bit like when you're just buffing up a normal piece of metal jewellery, just jumping in and sort of flipping between it, you know. But yeah, the little trick that you're going to see later on is going to be, when you've got a wax like this, a lot of, like, what if you imagine whether it's like for an intricate ring, or whether it's like a sort of quite bulbous, chunky bit of jewellery that you're going to delft clay cast yourself at home. The finish on the actual wax is so smooth for how I've got it. A lot of people carve a wax, buff it up with sandpaper, and send it off to the caster. But what you've got to think of is when if you've sent it off to a caster and they're putting on the tree with loads of other people's work, like when they poured like the plaster of Paris type, like investment powder mixed up, but it's like plaster of Paris. When they pour it down and it touches the side of your wax, you want it really close and a really nice finish. The nicer the finish, the same as if you're making a metal master pattern to send to a caster to mould. If they're doing a mould of something, if it's a bit rough and it's a bit matte finished, that mould's never going to be as nice for the wax injecting in. The same as for these waxes, even though it's in the delft clay, the smoother and shinier it is, the tighter that sand is going to be on that surface and create a nice sort of edged, a nice clean sort of like faces, you know, with the delft clay, you'll always get, well, you'll see in the second video when it comes to cleaning up the actual casting of what we've made. But having it shinier is, or the smooth as possible is the key. You could have a few little bits that aren't so important, but overall on the main flatter sort of rounder, or the larger surfaces, the smoother they are, the nicer your casting's going to be. So you see, I got to this stage where, like, on the edges, just a bit of like the scrap sandpaper, like the off-cut of sandpaper, because your thumb takes to a curve, and it just takes to that shape a lot nicer. So this is mainly like prepped all those edges. So now I'm going back over the top. So obviously, in a way, you might think, oh, why didn't you just file that top bit in? It's that, for me, that this is just my way of doing things. This is, you could have, like when you do your one, you're more than welcome just to file loads of the stuff, and then start doing all your papering. But for me, I just like doing it stage by stage and bringing it from the edges, bringing it to the top of the piece, and then getting the final outcome that I'm happy with. I'll say that this is the shortest video of the series of 3. But yeah, hopefully you'll click that little bell and be ready to tune in for the next one. So this is the little trick that so many people don't know. So just a normal bit of lighter fluid, what you normally use for like Zippo lighters. I think Swan's worldwide brand. Put it on a bit of, could be a bit of tissue, microcloth, but it kind of melts the very top surface and it allows you to get a shine onto it. So you could take this down through more papers even if you really want to, but there's not really any need to do it more than what I've done, because you're going to get a nice result anyway. But just using the microfiber cloth and keep putting on a little bit more lighter fluid if it starts evaporating, because it will just naturally evaporate in the air. But having that finish, it comes out so much nicer. Before, when I used to work up in London, used to speak to friends up there that used to do casting all the time. Nobody ever sent them, or very rarely people sent them, a shiny wax model, because people just don't know this technique, and it really does help the casting, especially if you're having it sent off to an actual caster. It leaves so much less filing, so much less work to do on the cleanup session. And you'll see, like, for what is like a 22 minutes of actual making video and shaping and all this part's like a minute. It's so quick to do. So it's like your little your sort of flash forward to your next video. So you've got the delft clay showing you what tools you need, everything that you need on standby. I'll go through like any sort of dangers of the actual casting, just the preparation, and then once all this is done, the final video is going to be of my little pendant and sort of marking it out and actually doing the stone setting. Hopefully my setup, the video footage will come out okay. But yeah, like I say, there's so much more to come, and it'll be great if you've got the little casting kits, you can give all this sort of stuff a go. And but yeah, any questions, please do comment below. I pretty much answer all comments and stuff. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Please do like and subscribe, and do stay tuned for next video, next 2 videos at least. Appreciate it. Take care. Thanks.